Welcome to the Free Truth Show on tnsradio.com. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Hello to everybody out there in the chat box. And we have a few guests lined up tonight. We have the filmmakers of Don't Tread on Me. Debbie Lewis will be dropping in for a chat about the Don't Tread on Me film. And hopefully we'll get her on the Walking Turtle show on Saturday night too. And I have on the line Mr. Bob Chapman. I'm going to give you a brief bio. Mr. Chapman is 72 years old. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and attended Northeastern University, majoring in business management. He spent 3 years in the US Army, counterintelligence, mostly in Europe. He speaks German and French and is conversant in Spanish. He lived in Europe for 6 years, off and on 3 years in Africa, a year in Canada, and a year in the Bahamas. Mr. Chapman became a stockbroker in 1960 and retired in 88. For 18 of those years, he owned his own brokerage firm. He was probably the largest gold and silver stockbroker in the world during that period. When he retired, he had over 6,000 clients. From 1962 to 76, he specialized in South African gold shares. He and his family lived in Salisbury, Rhodesia, now Harare, Zimbabwe, and Johannesburg, South Africa from 70 to 73. During that time, he did a great deal of further study into the South African mining industry. Mr. Chapman belonged to the Traders Association for 25 years. He did all his own trading. During his South African years, some was done directly through Johannesburg, but 95% was done through London brokerage firms. Hence, he has extensive contracts both in London and on the continent. Starting in 67, Mr. Chapman began writing articles on business, finance, economics, and politics, having been printed and reprinted over the years in over 200 publications. He owned and wrote the Gary Allen Report, which had 30,000 subscribers. He is currently owner and editor of the International Forecaster, a compendium of information on business, finance, economics, and social and political issues worldwide, which reaches 10,000 investors and brokers monthly directly, and parts of his publication are picked up by 60 different websites exposing his ideas to over 10 million investors a week. In 76, after the Soweto riots, Mr. Chapman began North American shares exclusively for his clients. Up to that point, only a handful of American and Canadian issues interested him due to the high dividends the South African shares had paid out over the years. Between 76 and 88, his business surged from 1,000 to 6,000 clients, so the bulk of his business ended up being Vancouver Stock Exchange issues. For this reason, he is very conversant with the quality of management, geologists, properties, and traders on today's North American scene. He is well known. From 76 to present, he has spoken and given workshops at over 200 business conferences worldwide, and has been on radio and TV hundreds of times. Until his retirement, he was always judged by the attendees to be one of the top 3 speakers, and never once was lower than first in workshops due to his vast knowledge of the mining business and his grasp of worldwide financial markets and political scenes. In June of 91, at the request of business associates and due to retirement boredom, he began writing the International Forecaster. Mr. Bob Chapman, it's my great pleasure to have you on the Free Truth Show. How are you, sir?
I am fine, and I am very happy to be here.
Oh, I'm very happy you're here. You're a great man, sir, and great work you do for humanity, I must say. We're going to start off with a little game, Mr. Chapman, if you'll permit. Let's imagine that our listeners have no grasp of the New World Order situation, the current financial crisis, and they're absolute newcomers. And we're going to ask them we're going to ask you a question for them. Really, let's imagine that we're all learning exactly how the world really works from the get-go. So my question to you, Mr. Chapman, is: what would you say to people who would doubt that the world is controlled by a very few elite and have created every facet of our society at an intimate level from year dot?
Well, I think it stems from the power that is ensconced in the Bank of England, which was formed as a private corporation in the late 1600s. And later in 1913, the U.S. Federal Reserve followed in the same manner, although I think the Federal Reserve has even more power than the Bank of England has. And if you look at the different organizations that the people in banking and in the stock brokerage and insurance business, and also at the helms of and in the management of transnational conglomerates, you will find that they have things that they have in common, and that is they belong to the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberger Group, the Group of 30, the Group of 300, and the Royal Institute in London as well. And these people all connect and cooperate with each other. Includes the royal families of England and all the other European countries. And of course, as you well know, most of them are all intermarried, and that's glaringly so in England. And so these people have, over the years, from their point of view, tried to guide the future of mankind on this planet.
Yeah.
And they presently are striking out, and have been for many, many years, toward creating a society in a new one-world government. And that is their goal. And the things that you see today in business, in your economy, and in finance, they are a reflection of the desires of these people, and they hope through their actions they will force to bring about a new world government. And that's what this is all about.
It's a complete scientific dictatorship, as outlined by George Orwell and in many publications. And I would say, for those who doubt that the New World Order is real, it just don't believe what we say. All their publications are there, written in very dry, formal, boring language, but nonetheless there. Carol Quigley, Professor Carol Quigley, who was the elite's historian, official historian. John P. Holdren, Eco-Science, that he wrote with Paul Ehrlich. And there are vast amounts of white papers and material out there for people to read from the horse's mouth.
Well, I think in the United Kingdom, they should look into, if they choose to, the origins and the actions of the Fabian Socialists, which was run by the Webbs, and of which was generated, generally speaking, by Cecil Rhodes, who is an emissary of the Crown. And that is, I think, the beginnings of what we see now in modern movement towards world government, a form of combination of communism, socialism, fascism, melded together.
Well, we can go back and look at Marx. He asked himself, Karl Marx, the alleged co-creator of communism, Marxism, that he wanted a tripartite world, a united Americas, a united Europe, and a free trading bloc. And it turns out that Lord Rothschild funded and set him up in London. You can see that in his Das Kapital book.
Well, the forces in the United States and Europe also were the ones who set up and financed Benito Mussolini. That was through MI6. And incidentally, that just recently came to light.
Really? I wasn't aware of that.
A month ago.
Really?
Pardon me?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yes. And also the machinations of international banking in financing Adolf Hitler, which he never knew that they were the financiers.
Oh, he never
didn't
knew?
have a clue. No, the money was funneled through German corporations.
Of course. IG Farben, various corporations, yeah.
And in the big steel companies, Krupp and Dyson, and many others, the Hamburg shipping line, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And so these people have shaped these things, and it's all generated toward, in the final analysis, of having world government. And so that's what they're all up to. And that's why you see the economic problems today.